bro? Happy Sunday to everyone. I believe today's Sunday. I'm just starting my daily routine. This is my first day of my week. So I'm back on my daily routine. Here getting it. See, I'm having to break myself of bad habits. You know what I mean? Remind myself it's the first day of the week. You get caught up in the norms of things and the passivity of it. You know what I mean? The complacency. We've grown accustomed to a Sunday leisure day, like by design. We've been misled into a leisurely, restful. This is our Lord's Day of Rest day. This is a historical design that's misled us to this place of rest. It's deceiving in itself because it's unscriptural. It's actually speaking of the antithesis that's spoken of in prophecy and Revelations. This is the antithesis. This is the spirit of Antichrist. This is that misleading in totality, where everybody is caught up in the delusion that God said He would send into this world to deceive mankind. It's written that God shall send a strong delusion that they shall believe a lie. Thunder Loco, what's cracking? Arngren Anderson, what it do? So I'm just starting this live right now, and I'm just kind of like sorting it all out in my head, so I have a more general idea of what the viewing audience can expect moving forward. Because this would be regular, unless otherwise, I am unable to, for whatever reason, doctor's appointment, whatever. But otherwise, that way you can count on daily, no matter what your schedule is. There'll be a live there, and I'll start learning to edit from here, from these lives, and be able to, take portions out of whatever's being said and create videos out of them and run them into the stream, edit and whatever. So I'm just learning how to parse it and part it all out, to build the channel now. The blueprint, the architectural design of, how I want to move forward with as far as content creating and what I upload. So you have this template of these lives, which, this is educational. This is an educational channel. We're here to learn, dude. We're here to learn. We're all here to learn from each other, to teach each other, to condition and train each other. That's what this is about. We're not here for no dissonance or discord or no debates. I said this before and I'll say it again. You do not debate like this. A debate is set in a forum. A debate has purposes. Like, there's a design to a debate. It's an inquiry. You go back and forth questioning one another in order to prove one another wrong. That's a debate. You don't debate like that where I'm not facing somebody like it's a bot. You're a bot. If you can't be identified, you're just a bot. You know what I mean? So when I start clowning people on here, that's just proving you're a bot. That's all you are. You're a bot. You're a bird brain. You're most likely to repeat the same cycle going from channel to channel. That's what you are. You're like a pigeon in the yard picking up bird feed. Just picking up whatever you can, whatever looks palatable to you, and then you go in there and trigger it for entertainment. So like I said, this is educational. So, when we're exposing things like that, that's what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So it adds value to it because it resolves it. Because, like, you see people they can only do the same trick so long before once you realize that, you know what I mean, what they're trying to do, that there's ulterior motives in them coming out there and distracting and everything else. Because if this is educational, then you're in a classroom. Right? And it just so happens to be that right now this is the gym. So right now I'm at workout, I'm working out. It's leading by example. I'm at my gym, my personal gym. So you can join in and engage in the conversation or whatever. And what I'm gonna do, like I said, I'm resolving it for myself. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna talk my way through until I get around over there where I sit. And then I'll stop and go through the comments and, you know, try to catch back up or whatever. And I'm counting on my mods to, because I'm gonna stricken the word code on there so that a lot of stuff gets filtered out. And like, if it hits the filter, there's no point in even looking at it. You don't need to see it or not, just delete it. It hit the filter. You know, because it's about leading by example. If you want to show, if you want to prove that there is a better way, you know what I mean, then you have to demonstrate that. You can't continue to repeat the same cycle over and over and think that your words themselves are going to matter a damn when you're just still sitting there. You haven't done nothing. You've gone nowhere to get yourself out of that rut that you're in. And you know what I noticed right now, when the conversation, you see how when the conversation turned, you see how many people jumped off? You see, this is, for me, myself, this is it's a psychological experiment. It says a lot about large groups of people by when I can be speaking on something, how so many people can be turned away, or how particular people can be turned away from a particular a topic at hand or whatever's being discussed, or how they're triggered by whatever's being said. And you know they're triggered when, pay close attention to what's being said. This is for all my moderators. What's being said when somebody does that, right? Start taking note of what I'm talking about when you see whoever jump in with their little trolling shit. Because you know that's what triggered that person. So we can be able to start sorting them out now. So you know that I'm speaking about a particular subject that's sore to them. So we can start to sort people out, and we can start identifying them, whether they're right there or not. They have to face themselves in the mirror. We don't have to face them in the mirror. We're just exposing them. We're just showing them to themselves. You feel what I'm saying? So people can continue to play the games they want here, but you're just going to get a reflection of yourself in the worst way. And for me, it just adds entertainment value because people love to hear me clown motherfuckers, dude. So keep in mind all that, because like I said, educational means that we're going to be touching on things that are going to be sore to people. Race, you know what I'm saying? Fucking politics, history, you know what I mean? Religion. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about social justice, social reforms. You know what I mean? That's what we're going to delve into. So those conversations are likely to trigger people. But you know what? A person that can keep up with a conversation like that is not going to be triggered in a real immature way. A person of a mature mind is going to be triggered to go search for themselves the truth. A child is going to react in a caringest fashion. They're going to be so sensitive about their race, their ethnicity, their history, their beliefs, and all this shit that they're going to be triggered. That's a given. That's an expectation in the process that any professor meets. Because this isn't about showmanship. That's the rest of those channels. They can sit there and lie to themselves and say that it's not performing arts. That's all it is. It's a performance. It's a literal stage performance. Every single content creator you're gonna watch, especially in the prison or gang genre, it's all staged performance. None of them None of them are leading by an example. They sit there and act like they're qualified to continue on as they are without giving no example of a demonstration that leads somebody to a positive outcome. Not one of them. It doesn't matter how smart they sound. It doesn't matter what their history is. It doesn't matter who their name is. If they're not getting up, getting out and getting something, and they're going out there like this and being able to demonstrate that shit, then that's all it is a stage performance. The showmanship's up, kids. Now I know a lot of you little gangsters and all this whatever wannabes who've been to these shoes and ADXs and all these different programs think that you're something, but you're not, dude. And I'm speaking to every goddamn content creator on here that's been to prison that does that shit. And it's been to gangs and does that shit. I'm speaking to every last one of them. Come meet me at Los Olivos Park if you feel a type of way about it. Boy, I'll be here every day. That's to every goddamn gang member in the gang on the content on this goddamn YouTube. Motherfucker, Los Olivos Park, daily. Dog, you can catch me getting it. If not, shut up now about your gangs, because you're all punks. Your hoods are all bitches. I said that meant that you can catch me here, homie. So we can dead all that shit right now with that shit. Because we moving on, we're trying to demonstrate to these children that there's a different way. That's in there, that style of living, that shit's played the fuck out. Put on them jerseys, them long ass socks, them same ass shoes, that same ass fit, that shit stops. You boys look like fucking clowns, a bunch of them all ganged up together, grouped up, sending out like sore ass thumbs. Same outcome's gonna continue to repeat so long as you motherfuckers continue to put on the same clothes. You're wearing the same motherfucking uniforms, expecting a different outcome, heading into the same fields, producing the same fucking crops. And you think you're gonna fucking produce some good fruit from them rotten seeds that you are yourselves? You're showing it. You're showing it in every way you identify yourselves on here. None of us can escape that reality. I've had to delete so much content on here for that fact. People know no shame on here. How often do you see them? Man, these content creators would not fucking scrub their profile back. Why? They're bought out, dog. They're sold out. They're all sold out content creators on here. I know for a fact. I know as a matter of fact, all I have to do is continue to do this daily. That's all I got to do. And I'm going to outperform all of the rest. All I got to do is stay steady daily and do this daily and have an example that everybody can count on, a template every day. You know where you're going to find me. You're going to know exactly what the expectation is, because it'll be leading. Like I already said, I'll start piecing out content so you'll know what to expect. You don't know what to expect from none of those content creators, do you? You don't know who they're going to be talking about next, because that's all it is, huh? Who's fucking who and who's getting fat reactions. That's what it is now. All that programming is nothing but who's fucking who and who's getting fat reactions. You can call it the YouTube streets, the YouTube yard, you can call it whatever you want. That's all it is, fact filled. Ain't nothing more than that, dude. Let's stop acting like what we're doing here is something other than what it is. In fact, you're sitting there, you got a camera on you, recording content, or you're live, and it's the same thought process, same subject matter, same timeline streaming, but it's all disconnected. It's all discombobulated because you don't know which one they're going to be talking about next time, the next video, because they're reacting to your reactions. Oh, they want to hear about Wes Watson some more again. Let me give him some more Wes Watson. Oh, I see that this person he's running up right now. Everybody's on him, and they're talking about this. Let me go get on him. That's the show, dude. That's the behind the scenes scene for the viewing audience to understand about the content creation behind the scenes in those particular genres. It's a loop, dude. All of us are caught in loops. That's why they're genre. That's why they're categorized like that. That's why you gotta put in the demographics and shit. You gotta have all this data sets into there. Demographics and all that shit. That's why I diversify mine. Mine's is diversified in the settings. And I'm gonna continue to diversify mine. Well, actually, I can't stop right here because somebody stole my seat. But, well, I was gonna stop right there. But as you can see, somebody's there, so I have to find another spot to stop. And what I'm gonna do, I know, I'm gonna go around this building. No, I just make it to, there's a bench down the way. I'll just keep going. Because what I was gonna do right here is, I'm gonna find a stopping point to go through the comments and shit and just keep it moving. That way I catch back up on the comments. Because there's a lot of issues at play with that, like the glare of the sun on the screen. It's hard for me to see. My vision's fucked up as it is, so it's hard for me to see. You know what I mean? I'm talking and breathing hard, so it's hard for me to see. So, but there's a bigger point here. It's always about the message. It's never about the messenger, man. It's never about the messenger. Remember that. It's always about the message. People get caught up in the messenger, judging the messenger. It's never about the messenger, bro. That's why so many martyrs are made in this world. People are judging the martyrs instead of reflecting on the message and letting that message sink in their hearts and register. You know what I mean? So that they can have a change of heart, and their whole mind frame would be altered by that fact. This is just clinical psychology, bro. This is just psychology, dog. That's all it is. A lot of people don't understand that even the scriptures themselves is psychological. There's science behind the evolution of mankind, but, you know, we've been duped into believing this mystical shit about all of it, dude. All religions, it's been mystified. That's the real delusion, is that the veil of all of it has been enshrouded by that mystery. It's not a mystery. Listen. Simple questions to ask of reality, right? Why would God choose David, King David, to be king when he had older siblings? He actually had nephews and nieces that were great nephews and nieces that were his age. That's how much older his siblings were to him. You know what I'm saying? He was the least likely, as it said, to be chosen. So when David is chosen, in fact, why is he chosen? He's chosen because he's a shepherd. He has the heart of a shepherd. A shepherd is going to lay down his life. He's going to fight with a lion and a bear, as David did as a child, in order to spare the flock. Because if the bear got one, he's going to get them all. You lose one, you lose the whole flock. See, it takes a human being that has that kind of sense to be anointed by God in that sense. To release that essence into mankind. Otherwise, people don't get it. There's a practical, logical, sensible explanation to why Jesus chose Peter walking down the street. He's a carpenter. You know what I mean? And he's in sandals, and he's in that terrain, and he's going from city to city, state to state, country to country, literally on foot, traveling, a carpenter. That's the man, not the mysticism that everybody applies to it. That's all of Christianity. Every preacher is preaching mysticism. Jesus was a man who walked down the street and had need in the moment. Peter was a fisherman, was he not? Now, for practical purposes, let's consider Matthew now in the equation, a tax collector. Now, why would a carpenter have need of a fisherman and someone who understood finances as a carpenter? Not Christianity's mysticism of who he was, but the man that he was in real time, in real life. Because he had to make real man decisions in real time as to who he was selecting to roll with him. Every pastor, preacher, and teacher in Christianity's lying because they omit that fact. They mystified the whole caricature of him. They omit the fact that he's a man. So by omitting the man himself, do you not know that that's the spirit of Antichrist? When you make Jesus out to be a God instead of the man that he was, that is Antichrist. He never made the claim himself. That is pieces that were taken out and thrown, and now it's become a belief. There are entire Bible colleges who teach this doctrine that's false. Turning Point USA, as a matter of fact, the most slanted of all Bible colleges there is. But every last one of them has their own political slants, and it's read in their literature. From the actual Bibles they translate by their scholars has a political slant. Now, how is Jesus Christ? How are you going to find the blood of Christ in a political slant that's Americanized? That is intended to lead you to believe that this is a Christian nation? How? And it's the same be said of every faith. Mosques are not omitted or excluded, or synagogues. The delusion runs that deep. And they're all casting stones at each other. When Ishmael and Isaac are half-brothers. And there was never, the contention was with the mother, Sarah. It was within the seed itself. So by the time it got to Jacob, who would then be surnamed Israel, because he wrestled with God and overcame, bore 12 boys who all hated each other. Incestuous, murderous, idolatrous. That is the Jews from that origin right there, that story. Never mind where we are now, right there. Right beginning with them 12 tribes, as incestuous as it was. It's a fact, it's historical, it's record. No one can escape it. They've omitted it. Certain Jews have whitewashed their own history. Well, we know their history's been whitewashed. And it's by design of them to conceal their identities, as a matter of fact, from mankind. Because they're in every church. They're in every synagogue. They're in every mosque. They're preaching and they're doing all the same shit. A lot of people don't understand the conflation of religion. It's an institution of mankind. What you understand religion to be is an institution created by mankind. What religion is, as it's defined in the Bible, in Scripture itself, where there's a verse that tells you what religion is, and it reads as follows: pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Now you tell me which one of those leaders in any of those faiths does that. They visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and they keep themselves unspotted from the world. When you can find every last one of them in this world. It's an omission of guilt to justify the lies that they preach. They deceive themselves. And people seek after them because they think alike. They're mystified by the same things. And they come from the same environments in which them people come out of. So they're the prime cult leaders. When you're considering how a cult of personality forms out of groupthink, there you have it, the foundation of every denomination on earth. Every last sect within every religion on earth. I wouldn't go there, dude. I wouldn't follow no man, because man be phony. And what do I say for myself? Check it yourself. Go to the record. I have no problem with someone questioning what I say. I bypassed my fucking spot. I was gonna chill. Let me survey, because I have to come in and find a spot to chill, because I've been carrying on a bit. Might have to just see up here something to sit on. That way I could check the comments, because I'm going on, and if you've been on the channel long enough, you're a day oneer, you already know how the show goes. But since we got new programming here, since we're all deleted everything back and we're going and redoing this, rebranding Daniel Saiz Rose Grows and Stone, we're gonna take totally different considerations to, everything moving forward. Because I said, for me, in my evaluations and assessments of the channel itself, I consider my mods and resourceful and how useful they can be, and I would like them to be. But that's, you know what I mean? Like that's really predicated upon my own regular scheduling, and that's why I have to micromanage myself down to such a minute point. But I'm surveying, and I'm looking. I think I can sit right there on that stump. See, how long have I been on? 27 minutes. Yeah, see, and the purpose, is the exercise. It's the example, like I said, and then to get out a meaningful message, and then to interact with the viewing audience itself, because that's part of the live process. But those have been around a while know how it works on here. I'll continue on. So I have to find these little breakpoints. Like I'm just gonna post up right here and just chill on that box right there. 'Cause I can't. There may not always be availability at that seat, but I know there's plenty seating around here. I just got lost in thought, and I actually walked right past the bench that I intended to sit on. So now I'm gonna suffer for it, because I gotta sit in the sun, and I passed up 2 shaded spots. So now I'm forced to. Let's see where we at. Damn, look like there be some trolls already, bro. Sensitive needs YouTubers. Who's that now, dude? Who done flipped the script on me, man? hey, if you listen, anybody, when you change your handle, you gotta let me know who's calling in, bro. So everybody, once again, identify yourself, man. You know what I mean? Alyssa love the DJ. You can tell because he's trying to pose. I take it that you're talking about people's content creation posture on here. Blue Sweater Rants. Oh, hi. Rube Wayne, are you Northern Okie? What is that? What is that? Hey, Rube Wayne. Okay, so because I honestly, like, I don't think you know what you're trying to say. I don't think you know what you're talking about. Like, no, listen. No human being is a northern. Nothing. A human being's description can never be northern. That doesn't define a human being. Right? We need to really understand what we're doing. Like, you cannot label a human being something. Are you ugly? Listen, if you're gonna ask somebody such a question, like you're gonna try to label me into a group think, like you're caught up in group think. No, that's offensive to every human being. That's offensive to yourself first. No human being is northern. There's not a northern human being. It doesn't describe what a person is. It gives no definition. Now, if a person, a human being themselves in their own mind frame has reduced themselves into identifying themselves by a direction, north, south, east, west, or even a color, black, brown, whatever, then that's delusional. It's a lie. It's actually degrading your own humanity to do so. It's a degradation of your own self. It denies who you are. It seeks to just, listen, what you do by doing that is people that call themselves all these things, ethnics, races, gangs, all this, you're like something that has a bunch of bumper stickers all over it. You're just plastered with bumper stickers. Like as a human being, you're just all of those bumper stickers. They don't mean anything. They're just catchphrases. They're just labels. They're just cliches. They do not define a human being. They do not define actions. They do not define words. They do not define anything about a person. Yet we choose to label ourselves as these things that are not us. Why? Because of groupthink. Because of a cult of personality has led us to believe that we are this thing. We're not. Do you know that you're that? Can you actually draw your blood and prove that, when I know for a fact that you can't? Why? Because 99% of all human beings' genetics traces to the same. It's coded the same. 99% of us. 99% of everything that's coded in our genes is all the same. This is a fact. This is a scientific fact. So the rest of this is just what we heard that we choose to identify ourselves as. Because no one comes into this world with that state of mind. And as far as when these identities come into play, we are called this by someone else. We didn't choose to. Malcolm X put it best when he said, we did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. You are not a black person. You are not a brown person. You are not a Chicano. You are not that, dumbasses. That is Plymouth Rock landing on you, and that is you accepting every label that applies. Doom, doom, doom. You just become that dumbass. Doom, that blackface, minstrel show, doom, and you're every bit of it. It almost makes me want to call every last, just blurt out every last most derogatory racial slur right now at every race. For that reason, dude. Just hit all of you at once with those words that fucking kill you inside. Because that's what you demonstrate by doing that. You are the worst of that representation when you seek to label yourself as that. If you want to be identified by a group, then you are known by that pedophile in that group, motherfucker. Now hold to that shit. There are Northerners in Northern California. We're going to address this shit. In every gang over there, there's rapists, there's pedophiles, so all of them are the same now. Don't sit there and try to act like you ain't that motherfucker. That's your gang, homie. You can't X them out. You part of that same shit. That legacy remains, homie. Those names are in gang files with those crimes attached to those gangs. So now what? You really want to be that now? Because you're reflecting your own ignorance back at your own face with what you're doing and saying in truth. As a matter of motherfucking fact, it ain't no human being on earth can escape that truth. Turn to the law of Moses, and what does it say for you? Because that's the judgment of God to every man on earth. And I don't give a fuck what no one says. Those 613 commandments with that blood sprinkled on them. You don't face that, turn to that, read that shit daily. You don't practice, preach, and teach that daily. You don't establish that shit daily. You're done. You're deceived, you're duped, you're led, misled in your own goddamn sin. You're following and heaping off yourself false teachers, hearing off of nothing but fucking fables because it's all make-believe. Because you're not that. You are not that. And just based on what I said right now, you can do the research yourself, but just based on those facts alone proves that no one can be any of those things. I can go deeper into explaining that shit. I can get into the actual literature, the etymology of the words themselves, where these words came from, who first said it, why they said it. So what? You think you can escape the history of a word, the origins of a word, who first said it, when it was said, and why it was said, motherfucker? You really think you can? Damn. Bah. That's what you are, sheep to the slaughter. Bah. Bah. And who first called you those things? The United States Census first identified people as those things. It's a matter of fact. No person in America ever labeled themselves as anything that we define ourselves as now until it was put in the census. That's a fact. History proves that shit. So what? You really think you're black now? You think you're brown now? You think you're that now? When I can prove as a matter of fact that nobody identified themselves as that until they first said that, until it got put in the census, and then that's when that message spread. That's how we became labeled those things. Based on the same scheme to keep us bound in the same chains, paying the same taxes to the same masters since they first designed that construct called the U.S. Constitution, with the same framework and the same taxes written into the same shit. But you don't understand though. Why? Because you're stuck in a micro little world right there. You're stuck on your block and you can't get out of it. And you're bound to catch a bullet in your motherfucking head because the percentage risk rate that you are living in puts you at a greater risk because of where you are. Not because of who you are or who's there, but because of how fucked up the people are for what they do. You can choose to go to work. You can choose to go to school. You can choose to get your credit up. You can choose to be a better person in your community. But are they? No. Are they? No. And what are the ones that say that they want different, say that claim that they were once all that? Do they go out there and put a stop to it? No. They still dress up and act up and do the same shit. They still talk the same way. Because they're just an older version of them young motherfuckers that they're now throwing stones at. Fucking hypocrites. As a matter of fact. That's a motherfucking fact. And let's stop and reflect on something too when in contrast and comparison me to every other motherfucking content creator. Because I just preached a sermon, dog. That was a fiery ass sermon out in public. I don't need to build no goddamn cathedral to stand in a pulpit and preach or to teach. I don't need to be behind a fucking lectern at no goddamn university to have the same profound impact as every goddamn professor in the world. Not when I know what I know. Not when I can show how I show. But if you want the same shit show, if you want to repeat the same vicious cycle, then go tap in right there on the YouTube streets, the YouTube yard, and you're going to find out what the big homie's doing next week on that channel. Because that's all that shit's about. There is no intellectual depth to not one of them content creators on there. They cannot speak to nothing in depth. Because they are just as shallow of a man as every other shallow man in that baby pool that they persist in. Their environment, that microcosm. They don't know the world outside of that. I learned a lesson from my cousin one time when I went out there, took a trip to California. I've always wanted to see the ocean. And he had to enlighten me one time. He said, bro, there's people born and raised here, live their whole lives here, 70 years that don't ever see the beach, don't ever see the ocean. Now think about these dudes right here that they cater to a genre. That's all they're doing. You're expecting to influence them to get out of that? How are you going to expect to influence those youngsters to get out of that when you're there too with them? See, I'm still here. I'm still in my community, but look what I'm doing in my community. I'm adding value to my community by educating my community. One thing I spoke about with this park right now, it's zoned for future 4.5 acre farming to create a co-op right here, communal garden, so that we can grow our own vegetables in community and we can buy and sell our own right here. Marketplace right here, open air market around a garden. In a city, in the fifth largest major city in the U.S. This metropolis right here, in this valley, desert, a garden. A beautiful garden that can grow anything apart from an avocado that's not in controlled climate or any other seeded plant or vegetable that must be controlled in a specific environmental climates based on altitudes and all that stuff. Otherwise, right here, straight to table, straight to market. And we need more of these. We need more of these around here so that people can think about what I just walked around. See, you're caught up in the messenger again. And that's my fault. That's my bad, because I get turned up and I get tuned out myself. I'm tuning myself out myself, because when I reflect back on it, I don't want that radiance in there either. It's distorted. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's dissonance, it's discord. It doesn't really convey the message as I want it to. I want people to understand that I'm for you, and what I'm trying to say is for our better good. I'm not trying to tell you to be me. I'm trying to tell you, be you where you are. But look, exercise is good for you. Every doctor will tell you that. And what I'm doing here, I'm explaining it as far as my mental health, and I'm explaining myself. I'm going so far the extra mile as to explaining what I'm doing here with the purpose of meaning. And see, I got to clear that up for myself. I realize this because I go back and I reflect, and you'll see each time it'll be like, if you go back to the last one, it'll be a better streaming flow. Like you'll notice that it's all clear. It clears itself up, because this is my life in general. Like every day I reflect back and I see my mistakes and I say, I'm not doing that. And sometimes you do it again. It's like, fuck. But I correct myself. I'm in constant correction every day, because you know what? I owe it to myself to be the person that I know I can be. Never mind what everybody else thinks. Never mind no one else. It's not about no one else. It's about me reaching my full potential, and then people can see. But in the meantime, I'm working on myself. I'm in full recovery. I'm educating myself. I'm working on a dissertation for a new field in psychology. So this is all relative. Like, what you don't understand is, like, I take this back because I come from my studies. I just left my studies, and I come here and I'm reflecting back, because like where I was last off was in my studies was the issue of race. Really, really stripping it bare down. Like, I even have an essay already ready to go post on Facebook. I'm just trying to fine tune the picture to caption it with, because I'm trying to get their analytics to I'm basically R&D right now. I'm basically in R&D with ChatGPT, research and development. So I have to push the bounds of what its capabilities are and have it explain it back, and then push forward with what I would hope for, right? So like, like we're already in the process, where I'm red flagged, basically. I got myself red flagged to where those engineers who code write are going to take note of I'm intending to fine tune the actual app itself to make it more user friendly. So, you know what I mean? That helps with their research and development teams. But it makes it better for me, because in real time, the actual analytics on mine itself independently can actually just have that set in there, where mine's a standalone to free form whatever they're gonna try. They can try it off of this one right here, off of mine. So that's what I'm hoping for, because so another thing, and here's why it's triggered this whole racial thing. Let me sit and talk about this, because it's important. It's important how I stumbled upon this and why I'm triggered about it. Is okay. So in my tutoring on ChatGPT, because I'm tutoring, right? I'm taking what's inside and reflecting back out to really understand, right? And so when I go to try to get them to produce images for me, they kept having a racial, ethnic bias. It kept showing in the form. Like, every time they would show me black. Right? Like, it didn't matter. Like, the color tone was black. And then so we corrected that. I went through it and I even posted it on my Facebook, the dialogue between it, so everybody can see how I checked that with them and how it was corrected. How they honestly assessed their mistake and said, you know what, we were wrong. You're right. That's biased, it's prejudicial and everything. They went and explained it. I have it posted. I have the receipts. I run into it again this morning. Okay, so what I'm trying to get, it's about the racial issue, right? So let me kind of draw you into it, right? Is like the image that I'm trying to create is to get people to understand the word race, how the word race, the etymology, the origins of it, how it slaps on there, and right, and how it carries on, and how that one word would then form other things that are labels, right, that are all meant to enslave us. It all comes from the same intentions. It begins in Europe. The etymology of the word begins with the Europeans, and it begins in the colonization of that place itself out of Rome. So they're identifying, like Africa is like identified by them. Those countries are identified by those people, not by the Africans themselves. There's no place called Africa in the Bible. And Libya and Ethiopia are both mentioned in the origin story with Eden, but Egypt is not. Egypt is mentioned later. Libya is here in Africa. Ethiopia is here. Egypt would be right here, and that's where you're going into the Middle East. Well, that's all the Middle East, actually. A lot of people don't understand that Libya to Ethiopia, all in that area, that circled area like that, well, the Mediterranean, not into Europe, but up like into that, is all the Middle East. That's not Africa. Egypt's not Africa. It's the Middle East. That's why, like in military reports and shit like that, it'll say Africa/Middle East, because it's the same. But see, that goes to show, like, when people don't understand the meaning of the word and how it applies, right? So let me explain with what I was trying to do. So the image I was trying to create was like it doesn't show feature, right? It just shows the struggle, more or less, right? So I'm just trying to get the impression of slavery, right, based on those definitions, that word, that one principle, and how it binds all people together, right? But what kept happening is no matter the form that it sent me, and it sent me 3 forms. The first one I glanced at, but didn't take note of. It was the second one that I took note of, so I'd had it redo it real quick again, right? And what kept happening is that the black people are isolated. So if they show multiple black people, it's in that sequence, right? So, and it proved the point that, okay, because I put it in sequence like that, peep game. Here's what I asked for it to do. I was trying to draw a representation, right, like this. An outstretched representation going from the time in which, so like you say you're coming out of Africa, right? Like just kind of get an impression, like an image, right? And then it's like one person, but it doesn't have to be a color, right? It doesn't have to be an African or anything. It doesn't have to be none of that. But the tones matter. The tones do matter, and certain features do matter, but you want it to cut through, right? Because it's a shroud, right? Because it's about the change and bondage and how it carries on. So it's like a timeline, right? So, okay, the sequence of people kept going from black to the lightest form. And the lightest form, like, okay, so the way I represented this, right, and the final person is going to be the person that's breaking the chains, and then, like, everybody's coming apart from it. So, like, picture the movie Django, right? And they're in chains like that. So you're picturing that, but more a time-lapse kind of vision, right? And it's a breaking the bondages together, right? So it's like people are tearing apart in different ways, but it's showing things in a lineal pattern, right? And it's clear. So the blacks on that final one, they got one with the little dreads, and like it was fucking all U.S. stereotypical shit, dude. And then it went from like I said, those two black, and they're like in slave garment. They're in real slave garment. To the final one comes out and he looks white and he's breaking the chains and he's all suited up and looking like, nah, dog, there's something wrong with that picture. And I had a really, really long back and forth dialogue with the analytics there, and that's how I get to that point where my shit got red flags so I can carry on. But I've been on this one 50 minutes, and I'm gonna end this one because I'm killing my time on my walk. And I gave enough of a sermon here, so I'm gonna do it moving. But I appreciate everybody, man. I ain't even gonna run back on them comments because, like I said, I'm killing myself on my purpose of being out here. You know, I'm here for my health. I'm here for a reason, and this is just showmanship.